All right, welcome back into the channel. And look, Ryan Ripken Show, we do it live Monday and Thursday, but we got to react to this game, Zach. Thursday night thriller. I'll be honest, I didn't feel good, didn't even play in the game, but it's just because of the action down the stretch. It was one of the most entertaining games, back and forth. Ravens hold on, and I mean hold on. But the
Literally.
bigger thing, Zach, not necessarily that Baltimore won and Lamar was great. He was. The Ravens win, and for the first time, it felt like you could see disappointment from the defensive side, and specifically Marlon Humphrey, who is one of those veteran leaders on the team, was talking about how this game really felt like not a full victory, but it's hard to get up and celebrate when you feel like you're not doing your part. So let's play that video for you guys.
Practices route concept. The game, you don't do it how you practice, so it's becoming more of a mental thing, I think. But we got to get that fixed. I mean, it's not cool to win a game and you look up and the team has 300 passing every week, and it'd be different if we didn't have no guys that could play. I haven't once heard anybody say we don't have the guys, we don't have the players, we don't have the skill. We're not doing it in practice. It's clear that it's something from when we do that last preparation to the game, what is happening in that span, and we got to figure it out. So that's it's pretty simple.
So you could tell,
Yeah.
thrilling game, but Marlon, he seems pissed. It almost feels like a loss. And Zach, this is something we talked about. This Ravens team's got talent on the defensive side, and yet game after game, there seems to be continued miscommunications and struggles. And last night was a great indication of that or example of it.
Yeah, and Marlon talked about it doesn't feel good looking up at the scoreboard even after a win and seeing the other team at 300 passing yards on you. How about a single receiver, Jamar Chase, having 264 by himself on you? Listen, you got to give Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow credit. They're playing out of their mind right now, but that's not something any defense wants to be a part of. And I love the part that he talked about where he said, no one thinks it's a talent issue. We know it's not a talent issue, especially on defense. Remember, this was a defense that won the quote unquote triple crown last year in turnovers, points per games, and yards allowed. This team was dominant. All they lost really was you lose Jadeveon Clowney, you lose a guy like Geno Stone in the back, you lose Patrick Queen, but those aren't necessarily guys, while all good players. That shouldn't be the difference between the best defense in the league and now one of, if not the worst defense as they're playing right now. The talent's there. I don't think anyone's denying that. The talent's there. It's just week after week, like Marlon said, something's missing. It's some sort of lapse between the game plan and getting on the field and executing it. You even saw it with Marcus Williams on the big Jamar Chase touchdown. Eyes get caught looking at Mike Gesicki. That split second, now he's chasing Jamar for 70 yards and a touchdown. It's just the small lapses right now.
Yeah, and the other part too, so the context, the Ravens defense is giving up almost 295 pass yards a game. They're giving up over 25 points a game, which, look, they're winning games because the offense is just on fire. It's truly that you thought about it. In 2024, did you would think that the Baltimore Ravens offense is the catalyst for a team, and that is what wins them games? I mean, you would say I was crazy, Zach, but that's just the case of it. But one thing I want to touch on it before we move on is hearing the practice field, the concepts are there, but whatever it is, communication and a mental kind of block, which we've discussed in the past, Zach. Sometimes you can't explain all the time what's happening on the field, meaning, hey, you can say here are the problems and you know what it is. But right now, I think Marlon's right. I think that there is definitely something mentally that is like almost like you can say a writer's block. It's for them, it's like a passing game block where when the moment happens, it feels like that they just can't figure it out in the heat of the game. And ultimately, hey, the Ravens won the game, but that is something that the Ravens are going to be facing a lot of good offenses down the stretch that they're going to have to fix if they're going to have success moving towards the postseason.
Yeah, without doubt. And I think the key is, and this is what I'm going to say is almost more frustrating, is you see it starting to click. The little things. It was reversed. Brandon Stevens got his head around. Good things happen. We saw against the Broncos, they started stacking some drives up. There were times, remember, there were multiple times the Ravens held the Bengals to 4th down and then a penalty or something. If you eliminate penalties, the mental errors, the defense didn't play horrifically last night. It was the mental lapses in the errors. It was 2 massive touchdowns to Jamar Chase, a 67-yarder followed by a 70-yarder. It was this constant, you had a good play, and you're like, okay, great play by Marlon here. Marlon gets the punch out. Awesome. But then a few drives later, it's like, oh, big play to Chase. And you're like, as soon as they took a step forward, they took another step back, but they're starting to take those steps forward. Beginning of this year, there weren't many steps forward. So you see it here and there. Things are starting to get better, but I completely agree. They're going to need to figure something out if this team wants to see Lamar Jackson hoisting a Lombardi down in Louisiana.
Yeah, it'd be great in NOLA, right? That's when the Ravens won it last time. And last little tidbit here, the Ravens were the best team at taking away the football last year. They were tied with actually the Giants, 31 takeaways. They had a plus 12 differential last year. Right now, they're middle of the pack. So the thing is that the defense doesn't have to be perfect if you're able to force turnovers. But right now, Baltimore isn't doing that at the rate that they'd hope. And I feel bad for Brandon Stevens. That was a great moment. He deserved it. And just on the replay, just a hair on the line there. And it's a difference. But if the Ravens can force more turnovers, that can alleviate the stress here, which overall continues to be a roller coaster in games. But Ravens get the victory.